Right, welcome back everybody, and we are now on lesson 4 of our Great Fire of London learning for this half term. Last week we looked at the timeline of events of the fire itself and all the things that took place and what happened as a result. So today we're just going to start our lesson as we did last week with our knowing more, remembering more. So if you've got a pen, pencil, paper in front of you, see if you can jot down your answers. Hopefully you'll be able to make some links to what we looked at last week. So question 1 says, the Great Fire of London started at St. Paul's Cathedral. Is that true or false? If you write your answer down, and if you think it's false, say why, and if you think it's true, say why you know that. Question 2, how many days did it last? Was it 1, 2, 3, or 4? And our challenge question, who was the person that ordered the fire breaks to be made by blowing up houses with that special word we also learned last time, the gunpowder? Who was the person that ordered the fire breaks to be made? So I'll give you about 30 seconds or so just to get your answers down. Okay, so the answer for question number 1, the Great Fire of London started at St. Paul's. The answer is actually false, so well done those of you who managed to get that correct. It actually started at Pudding Lane in the bakery of Thomas Fariner, so an extra star if you added that extra bit of information about where it started and the place and location of the fire itself. So question 2, how many days did it last? Well, we all know that it actually lasted a lot longer than a lot of people think, and that was 4 days. And the challenge, who ordered the fire breaks to be made by blowing up houses using gunpowder, was King Charles II. So today we are going to be looking at and understanding what actions people took during the fire, to understand that some crimes happened during the fire itself, and to use primary evidence to find out about the past. We've talked a lot in the last 2 terms of learning about what primary evidence is. So have a think about if you can remember that. The vocabulary we already know, keywords that I know most of you should be able to talk about in some form or another, is the word steal, when you steal something, not the material, crime, theft, primary source, and evidence. So some of the words and vocabulary that we're going to meet in today's learning, so just like we do my turn, your turn, loot, trial, and crime spree. So have a look at these 2 images and think about this question. What did the people of London do during the fire? Now we know for a fact that nobody stayed in their houses unless they were unable to escape. But these images show a lot of people running away, some people standing there watching, or some people even trying to put out the fire, others trying to be rescued in boats, and other people actually using their boats to help rescue other people. You know, lots of different things took place during the fire. We know that people scrambled to escape with their belongings, and thousands of people found themselves homeless without a home because their homes were destroyed by the fire itself, as Samuel was telling us. Also, refugees watched the fire from fields outside the city walls, and they lived here until rebuilding happened, and some actually lived outside of the city walls for many, many years. But you also know some people saw the chaos of the fire as a chance to steal things. Now that sadly wouldn't be my first instinct. I'm going to go and steal something because all of these buildings are burning down. But unfortunately, that was the case for some people. because you see the fire created a perfect opportunity for these people for a crime spree. Okay, so a crime spree is when people decide they're going to go and take things from a number of places rather than just one main place. So they would go in and out of houses. So the thieves took advantage of it and would loot the houses that had been abandoned to steal goods that had been left behind. So historians know about thieves during the Great Fire of London because these records from their court trials are evidence. Okay, so trials, we know when people that have committed a crime go in front of a judge and they decide if the jury decides if they're guilty or not guilty. So there were two very, very famous individuals, or a pair of individuals, and then there's somebody else who were committed, okay, and taken to trial, and they were arrested for their part in stealing and theft during the Great Fire of London. That's the trial of Edmund and Anne Nunn, and they allegedly stole goods during the fire, and Mary Fisher, who also allegedly stole tobacco during the fire. So this is an actual image of the document of the trial, so the things that took place, the things that people said, and we look at that as a primary source because we know it's a record of what happened when she was accused of stealing from someone during the fire. So it's her version of events, the things she said happened during the Great Fire, where she supposedly, because that's that word, allegedly stole things during that fire. So here's a close-up of some of the things that she did. So it says, for suspicion of stealing and carrying away several quantities of Virginia tobacco, the goods, so it means the property, the things that belong to, of the said, so of the person, John Martins. So she supposedly, Mary Fisher, stole from John Martins, stole some tobacco. So what does the source tell us that she stole? So we know it says she stole Virginia tobacco. And who does the source tell us that she stole from? We know again that it was supposedly from John Martins. Now this is an example of another primary source because again it's a record of what happened when Edmund and Anne Nunn, so a married couple, were accused of stealing goods from John Plummer at the time of the fire. So let's look into a little bit more detail. To prosecute Edmund Nunn and Anne, his wife, for embezzling his goods in the late fire to the value of about £30. Now £30 in today's money and terms might not seem that much, but at the time that was a lot of money and a lot of property to have embezzled, excuse me. So how much were the goods worth that the nuns stole from John Plummer? There was so much theft during the fire that the king himself said the thieves had 8 days to give back what they had stolen. Thieves of the Great Fire, you have 8 days to bring back anything you have stolen to the Finsbury Armoury. You will not be punished. Now, King Charles thought that this appeal to the people that had taken things would work, but it's shown in history that this didn't actually work, and sources tell historians that very, very little was actually returned and given back. So your task today is that you are going to use the primary evidence to create a wanted poster for Mary Fisher and the nuns. So your poster needs to say who it is that you're searching for and what it is, the name of the person, and what it is that they stole. You might also decide to include an image of the person. So it might mean that some of you go on to Google and have a look and see if you can find some images of what Mary Fisher might have looked like. Your challenge for this lesson is to actually see if you can identify the reasons why people may have done this. So some of the words you might include in your wanted poster is the word theft, stealing, chaos, and fire. And you can certainly go back and have a look at the PowerPoint to remind yourselves about some of the things that they actually did and what they were accused of. So the reason that we're learning this is so that you all understand that the Great Fire caused a lot of chaos at the time it took place, that some people were not actually interested in putting the fire out, they were interested in other things, and also that primary sources help historians to find out about the past because they were written and sort of discussed and things that happened at the time itself. So our learning that we've covered today is going to link really well to our next lesson, which looks at how the chaos of the fire itself made it very, very difficult for the fire to be controlled and put out. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what your learning is going to be today, Year 2. So good luck, and we shall see you next week. Bye-bye.